Are we recording?
We're on. Am I in frame?
Oh, let's have a look. Yeah, looks good.
Okay, let's do this.
Okay.
This is the pilot, podcast number 1.
How do the cups look? Or do you even see them?
How do the cups look?
Turn it
It's
over.
kind of overkill.
Bring them forward a bit.
Do you think it's overkill?
Go back. Go farther. No, I think we're sitting having a...
Yeah? We're blowing our cover now.
Maybe it's a little bit overkill.
A little bit. Day team. But we do love the day team. I like them.
Okay,
Let's keep them in.
Sure.
Let's keep them in.
All right.
As we were saying, this is episode 1.
Are we actually going to start now or?
We're starting
straight
now. We're
Oh,
starting
okay.
now.
Hey, I'm Darren Day Sr.
And I'm Darren Day Jr.
Bringing you a new podcast, right?
Yeah, an unnamed podcast.
What gave us the idea to do a podcast? Was this your idea?
I think it was a bit of a combination of both of us.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
I thought it would be cool for people to know you a little bit more than just what they see on a billboard or a sign.
Right.
So
it used to be rock bands. Now people they're either influencers or they're starting a podcast.
Starting podcast, yeah.
I'm probably bad at both of them, but let's give it a shot.
Hey, let's do
Steaming
it.
up already. Oh. Huh. So what do you want to talk about?
I think for the sake of this being the first one,
Yeah.
I think most of these we're probably just going to do off the cuff.
Okay. Yep.
Because I was thinking like to have me as like an interviewer asking you questions. It's like I'm your son. It's like I'd just be asking you a bunch of questions.
He's a little biased.
I don't know. I think it would be odd. So we're just going to go off the cuff, and I think we should talk about your life, like where you grew up.
My life story.
Your
Okay.
life story. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll start a little bit, obviously, some of the story. Some of the stuff you'll probably learn today. I'm from Victoria, born and raised, Jubilee Hospital, like many of you today. Were born there with the Ivy on their way back in 1963.
Not me, Vic Jed, baby.
There we go. So my folks moved out when I was less than 1 year old they lived on Vincent Avenue by, I think, Tilica Mall.
And why
area.
is that road interesting?
Well, funny enough, my wife's maiden name is Vincent, and we lived on Vincent
and you were
Avenue.
born on
Yes,
Vincent
that's
Avenue.
yes,
Crazy.
That's wild. So my folks moved out to Prospect Lake because way back in the 60s, that's where a lot of people wanted to get out of Victoria because it was so busy. Ironically, what do we say today? It's so busy. So and prices were very affordable out there. So a lot of the the poor folk almost would live out there. Not quite, but not like today, obviously. So I grew up out at Prospect Lake, went to Prospect Lake School, and it was just I lived there till I was 16 years old. So our whole sort of summers would be down at the lake, obviously, Prospect Lake Store, hanging out there. And
Getting into trouble, or were you a good kid?
well, we were farm boys, right? They didn't have a bus out there. So to get into Victoria or to Royal Oak, at least to get the bus, we had to hitchhike, so old school. So, we...
Hitchhiking at what age?
Oh, pretty young. We were 12, 11.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Different day and age.
We were almost driving before we had licenses, not into town, maybe just in our, on our acre or two, We were just a bunch of farm boys, so...
What a time.
We used to get into a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should say this, but...
I think you should, for
Should
the
I?
sake of the
Should
podcast.
I? Okay, so back in the day, the Oldfields owned the store since the 60s. And Mrs. Oldfield... had this beautiful daffodil garden. Every year when the daffodils came up, just up from Prospect Lake Store at her home, she had this beautiful, daffodil farm or daffodil in her yard. And we were young entrepreneurs and always, looking to make some money. So what we did is we would pretty much annually, we would sneak onto her property and cut all her daffodils. And I know, it's insane. And then, so a block down the store, we had, daffodils for sale by the bushel. And, we made pretty good money. Now, I will say, Mrs. Oldfield, she was no dummy. I'm sure she knew that,
She knew you guys were...
Well, all her daffodils were gone, and then the next day, their daffodils were selling ironically just down the road.
So she let you guys have it.
Yeah. No, she just it was a gimme. Yeah.
Nice.
So, maybe that's how I got a little bit into real estate entrepreneurship.
Yeah, maybe that's like your first business, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I might have told you the story of the wallet. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
that
this
story?
is another, Tell the people though, it's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. So what we would do is we'd have a wallet, and we would have, in those days, we had $1 bills. So we would tape 2 or 3 $1 bills sort of sticking out of the wallet, and we would put a fishing line on the wallet, and we put it in the middle of the road. Then what we would do is we would all get, B and me and my buddies would sit, and we would basically wait. So, and we was on West Saanich Road, and that was a busy road because everybody's going to either Heartland Road Dump or they're going to Butchart Gardens, but it was a very busy road. So every 20 cars or so, you'd see them pull over. Then they would do this, sort of look around, and then sneak up and just go down to pick up the wallet. And as soon as they went down to bend down to pick up the wallet, we would just zing it right in. Yeah, oh yeah. Then we would stand up and we would start laughing. And then they would usually chase us.
Straight out of a cartoon.
Yeah, so that's how we sort of had, when we weren't at the lake, that's what we were doing sort of.
And this is when you're like a kid.
Yeah, I was like, God, geez, probably 10, 11, 12.
So
yeah.
How about transitioning to a teenager? What school were you going to?
Right, so that's an interesting story. So in those days, and I think I might be like that today, there's Prospect Lake School, which went to grade 2.5.
Right.
And then you went to Beaver Lake School. Now, I know that's closed, to grade 6, and then you'd go to Royal Oak. And then to Claremont. So I was going to Royal Oak. So that was an interesting time. I was grade 7. In those days, it was grade 7 through 9. So that was like, going to a school with a bunch of rich kids, because it was all the Broadmead or Cordova Bay crowd, right?
Totally.
So, right away, and I was always sort of a nice kid and quite vulnerable, and, so having the last name Day, it would rhyme with gay, so it'd be like, hey, it's gay day, and just, you wouldn't do that today.
No.
And then, so in those days, that was like in the 70s, so what was really big was platform shoes, like high platform shoes and flared pants.
Right, kind of like today. It's coming back into
That's
style.
right, yeah, totally. Yeah. So and the other thing that was really cool was faded denim jean jackets.
Okay, yeah, I know where this is going.
Right,
Yeah.
So my mom, she didn't have the Sears card. I think it was the Woodward's card or the Woolco card. So I sort of bugged my mom as I need a jean jacket because everybody's got a jean jacket. So we went down and she bought me a jean jacket and she says, here you go. And it was a Toughskins. And a Toughskins was a jacket that didn't fade.
Can't have Toughskins.
Well, but I thank my mom. I was just happy to have this jean jacket. I was a little disappointed it wasn't a faded Levi, which was sort of cool. It was a Toughskin. So, I remember sporting that coat in my first day, with the coat at Royal Oak School. And as soon as I got in the hall, I remember Paul the Polly going, it's Toughskins.
No.
Yeah, so now the next 6 months, they dropped the gay day part.
Now you're Toughskins.
And now I'm Toughskins for half of the... So I was razzed as a kid a lot. And
so adversity breeds success.
Exactly. In those days, we would, it wasn't really called bullying. It was just, it was just the way it was.
That's just how it was, yeah.
So anyway, I was getting bugged by a certain individual. And, I said to my buddy, if he says it again, I'm going to fight him. And he said, and my friend Rick.
Which is hilarious because this guy is not a fighter.
No. So Rick said, and he was my neighbor at Prospect Lake. He says, the night before, I'm going to get you sort of, he says, Gabe, the day of, I'm going to sort of say stuff to you to get you mad. So suddenly, I'm like, Paul makes this derogatory, I think he called me gay day. And I'm like, I call you out. So we go, me and half of the school are following out to the back.
Is that what you said, quote unquote, I'll call you out?
I'll call you out. That's what we called it in those days. God. So I remember Rick, who was my best friend, as I'm walking to go fight Paul, Rick's saying a bunch of stuff, and I'm going, you're supposed to be my friend. Why are you not defending me? So anyway, we get out, and we get our fists up, and we grab each other, and I get Paul on the ground. And I don't think I hit him, but right then, the principal, or the vice principal, Mr. Arsenault, I think.
Nice, okay.
He pulled me off of Paul. So after that, I was a bit of a hero in school. I never got bugged again. And
stood up to the
Paul and I ended up being best friends. And so, yeah, I sort of stood up for myself. And
that's hilarious.
So, but it was an interesting school. And then what happened is Stellies was built.
Okay.
So instead of, going to Claremont where a lot of the people would go, I lived at Prospect Lake, so that catchment area was Stelly's school.
Right.
Yeah, so then I went to Stelly's till grade 11.
And then you ended up going to Spectrum.
Yeah, my folks moved, and then I went to Spectrum for my last year.
And at that time, that's when you start playing music, right? And
exactly.
Or you were doing a little bit of that when you were younger as well.
Yeah, me and Rick and at Prospect Lake with Bill Johnson. And I remember Rick and I played, and then we met Bill on the school bus, and he had played Cat Scratch Fever just amazingly well, the lead. And so
nice.
We played in a band with Bill for, until we went to Spectrum. And then even when I went to Spectrum...
Are you talking
Bill Johnson, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
He turned out to be a very successful musician.
Yeah, I know. He got a Juno nomination, I think in 2013. So if you want to check him out, Bill Johnson, blues, if you don't already know him.
Amazing guitar player.
Yeah, so, that was pretty cool. And then, and then in school we met, in Spectrum, I met a lot of my friends, and we started a band called Backstreet.
Right.
And we had quite a big following right out of high school. And so, we were like, well, we got to do a dance. We got to do the world's biggest, or the area's biggest dance. So me having, little bit real baby face, I went down. Now you could never get away with this today, but went down to because he needed the liquor license. So I went down and I said, I'm the manager of the ball team, and we wanted to get a liquor license. So, gave my information, we got the liquor license. And me and Gord went down and got the liquor, and then we had the Halloween dance at St. Joseph's Hall.
Nice.
It was a brand new hall, and we were allowed to sell our own alcohol. And it was all going for our basketball team.
Or baseball team.
Baseball team, sorry, yeah. And so we had this dance, and it blew up. It was so packed. We had about 700 people. So we had a backup band did the sort of the opening set while we were and our girlfriends all serving the alcohol.
Nice.
But it was so busy, and we basically they lined up right around the whole gymnasium. We were handling basically cases of beer over the thing, 12 tickets. Anyway, we ran out of alcohol at about 9:30 that night.
So you guys killed it on that night.
We
made a
killed
lot of money,
it. Oh yeah, it was good.
Could have been even better.
Could have even been better.
If you're more stocked.
I think it was like $800 each.
That's probably because you guys did quite a bit after high school too, like playing in the city. I bet you a lot of it was from that gig because you
totally.
put on such a legendary show.
Yeah. Brass rail. Remember the brass rail or Ole's?
So that's more kind of in you're like 19, 20 at that point, right?
Barely. Yeah, 19. Yeah.
But before that, you moved to.
Well, what
Alberta.
I did is because so what happened is right after grade 12 at Spectrum, my first job in sales was Victoria Carpet Cleaning. And that was a company where they would had telephone solicitors, and they would clean your living room, dining room, hall.
Right.
So the phone solicitors would phone areas and say, we have carpet cleaners in your area. We'll clean your living room, dining room, hall for only $34.95. And if you have furniture, we'll move that, put it all back, professionally done, blah, blah, blah. So my job with them is I was one of the carpet cleaners, and I had the car. So I was the main carpet cleaner. Then I had a helper. So the carpet cleaner got 20% and my helper got 10% because I had the vehicle. Our job was to basically upsell people into, maybe if they wanted their furniture shampooed or extra rooms or Scotch Guard.
Scotch Guard,
right. So my average was about $125 per job, and I would do about 4 to 5 a day. So, and at 20% at 125, it was like about $25 a house. So you'd make about $100 a day, which in 1981 was good dough.
Solid, yeah.
Pretty solid.
Yeah.
But then, so I did that for about 8 months. I was their top salesperson, but I fell in love with a friend of mine's sister and followed her to Edmonton. Anyway, long story short, we had so much fun, but she broke my heart. I was more like a brother to her. And I moved back to Victoria.
Yeah.
And, basically reevaluated what am I going to do with my life.
And is that when you started?
Day Carpet Care.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Which was an epic company. And you were only 18 years old.
I was 18. Yeah.
Right. So tell them a little bit about Day Carpet Care.
Right. So I had, like I said, I was playing in a band. So when I got back to Victoria, I didn't have any money to start a business.
Right.
So, but I had, basically the system. I'd worked for Victoria Carpet Cleaning. I knew what they did, what the telephone solicitors would say. So I thought, if I hire phone solicitors, I wouldn't have to pay them for the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Right.
And usually you hold back a week. So I knew that I wouldn't have to pay wages for 3 weeks. I could rent the equipment. And in those days, you didn't have to pay for it right away, nor did you have to pay for all of the telephones the only thing I had to pay for was the rent.
Right.
So I basically started, I pawned my musical equipment.
It's bold moves.
Yeah.
You hired everybody before you knew it was even going to work.
Exactly.
But you just knew it was going to work.
Just knew it was going to work.
Love
Had
it.
to work. I had
Love
no,
it. Yeah.
there was no way but up for
Yeah.
me. I couldn't go down. So I was all in.
Nice.
So then what happened? I pawned my musical equipment for I think $400. That's the money that I started the company with. So I rented a place on, ironically, Rock Bay Avenue.
No way.
And started the phone room, 2 shifts of phone room. And I actually even ended up in the paper because this was 1981. This is, if you remember interest rates, you wouldn't remember this obviously. Interest rates went to 20%. So we were in a recession in 81, 82, and that's when I launched the company. So I was I was the front page of the business section. Someone leaked it that I had this company. I think it was a friend of mine. And nice. So I ended up being on the front page of the business section. And I remember it today. It said, musician rocks with clean cash.
Nice. That's epic.
Yeah, and it says, Darren Day of Day Carpet Care. I had 18 employees at the time and did, quite well. Until, had it going for about a year. But I didn't know the importance of paying your payroll deductions on time.
Okay.
The Revenue Canada. So when you have a business, you have to make sure that you're paying your taxes. So
right.
For all you entrepreneurs out there, always make sure Revenue Canada gets their piece first.
Okay, so that's the takeaway. That's kind of what killed the company a bit, right?
Right, because sometimes you're like, hey, I'm making money. It's like, well, did you pay your taxes? Well, no, then you're not making any money, right?
Right.
So anyway, the day of payroll, I had payroll. I was at my office. I remember managing the phone room, and one of my carpet cleaners came in and said the check bounced. I'm like, what? There's lots of money in there. I looked, and they had taken all the money in there. And at that time, there wasn't that much. It was $4,000 or $5,000. In essence, though, shut my business down.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, it was bad. Yeah, my folks lived in Mill Bay. Actually, when I started that company, I was hitchhiking down from Mill Bay to my office. Yes. And then at night, because I was, going out. I'm young. I'm 19. Then I was 19. I was going to Ole's, and sometimes I didn't want to go all the way back to Mill Bay, so I would sleep in my office.
Right.
Yeah. Remember one morning, they're like, Darren, it's time to get up as I'm on my floor. So I don't recommend that. So
you ended up having to lay everybody off.
Everybody, and I couldn't pay them right away. So basically, it took me 4 months. I didn't go bankrupt, anything like that. I paid everybody off, and so that ended the carpet cleaning chapter.
Wow. And then what?
Then what happened is I had experience with running telephone rooms, and Rogers Cable TV. Well, on Cloverdale, now Shaw, I think now Rogers again, they had that beautiful new building, and they were looking to bring pay TV into Canada. It was called Super Channel, and then First Choice, but Super Channel. So they were looking for someone, a marketing manager that had experience with telemarketing.
Wait, it's pay TV
so it was like movies.
Educate the youth here.
Yeah, so pay TV is like, well, pay TV now,
like pay-per-view?
Pay-per-view, but it was different then. So what it was more is, you had your standard channels, your 2 to 13 channels in those days, like 13 channels. So this was a movie channel. So that's what Super Channel was. It was a movie channel. Okay. So they would have all the blockbuster movies, and at that time you probably got 12 or 13 new movies, and then it would be replays of those new movies. Okay. But they were sort of the new movies after, this was before like video machines got really popular. Right. So you were able to offer it with being with your cable company. Okay. So that's what you were selling. Exactly. And so they were looking for someone that had experience managing phone rooms, and I did. Yeah. So I applied for the job. Now picture this. I'm like, at that time I'm 20. Long hair. I think I got the band back together a little bit. And they were looking, if Rogers Cable TV had to hire staff, they would have had to pay union wages. And in those days, that was like a premier job,
Right.
being a customer service rep or a CSR at Rogers Cable TV. So they were looking for a subcontractor to hire the phone room. They would pay the subcontractor, and it'd be the subcontractor's job to pay the wages. So that's what I did in essence. So, and I had like 7 different contracts with them. So what we would do is I would hire the phone solicitors, and we would phone right from the Rogers location. So get this. It was always, telephone soliciting wasn't the best job, and it was sometimes hard to get telemarketers. But I ran the ad, and I put Rogers Cable TV is looking for telephone operators. Everybody thought it was the CSR and it was the union. So the phone just blew up, and I was able to hire, a full staff of telemarketers. So I did that promotion for over the next 4 years.
The key to a good ad.
Yeah, International Telemarketers. That was the name of my company.
Nice.
And that paid pretty good because I would get paid, and then I was paying, minimum wage plus bonus to all the carpet cleaners.
Right on.
Or sorry, all the telemarketers. Yeah. So we'd have promotions in that. Even one promotion, and it was really good too. Like when they phoned, it would be like, "Oh, hi, it's Debbie from the cable company." And everybody, because there's only one cable company in town, they're like, thinking they didn't pay their bill or something.
Right.
"Oh, we've got this new channel coming in called Super Channel, which is movies."
Would you train the telemarketers
Yes.
on how to? Because even to this day,
Yes.
when you're training new staff, you're huge
Right.
on voice inflection.
Right.
And
Here's smile and dial.
Yeah.
Hello. Don't take anything personally.
right.
When they say, no, we're not interested. "Oh, I totally understand. Let me ask you this. What if we get right?" And it was so, yes. And we would have, I'd have bonuses, and they really liked it. So the telemarketers would come in I would start at 3. Telemarketers would come at 4 and work 4 till 8 o'clock.
Right.
And then one promotion was, because in those days, a lot of people didn't have remote televisions.
Okay.
So we had a promotion selling converters. And if you remember this, if you're my age, converters would get you channels above 13. But you needed a converter.
Oh.
Yeah, so Rogers had these wired converters, like choo, with a wire, but it was sort of like a remote control. Then they got fancy. The next model was like the wireless converter.
Okay.
So that was another promotion we did with, and Dave Donaldson, Dave, rest his soul. Great golfer, by the way. I met Dave then because he worked part of the promotions. He'd go out and deliver the equipment.
Oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, and he loved that job. Yeah, so that was a lot. That was a lot of fun. So I did that until I was probably. Well, I was at then probably 23.
A lot of sales.
No,
jobs.
22 probably.
Even going back to when you were a kid.
Yeah,
You're selling
always.
daffodils.
Yes.
Then you're working the carpet cleaning company. Now you're selling for Rogers.
Right. Here's the story.
Okay.
One of my jobs was, after the cable wrapped up at the cable company, I noticed there used to be a store called the Sony Store. And the Sony Store was owned by Sony, but it was like an audio video retailer, but it was all Sony products. And I worked at the location out at CanWest Mall, now called West Shore Center. They had a Sony Store. So I just met my wife, Leanne, from the band. Leanne was, she came and,
A groupie?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. But she held back for a month and,
And that's how she roped you in.
That's right. We're married still today.
Good job, Mom.
Yeah, good one, Mom. So I was working at Rogers Cable. Not Rogers Cable, I'm mixing it up now. At Sony Store out in CanWest Mall. Now, that mall was pretty slow. Now, the big movies were just coming out where you could rent movies and rent video machines. Or now you could buy video machines because prices had come down on them. But the thing with Sony is they only sold beta machines, and that was a different format.
Right.
It was a smaller tape, better quality, but most of the movies that you would rent were all VHS.
Right, it was one of those, the beta machine was one of those weird pieces of technology that doesn't really catch on, right?
Totally. It's like the...
Like this?
No, you had said satellite before. I got a good one. No, like BlackBerry, right? You probably don't even remember BlackBerry. Remember that?
Well, no, BlackBerry was huge though.
I know, but now it's gone.
I know, that's a great movie.
They were crushed. So
Which sucks because it's actually a Canadian company too.
I know. People would come into the Sony store and they would say, oh, I want to buy a video machine. I say, great, okay, come on here. We've got the Sony Betamax. And then they'd say, oh, no, do you have VHS? Like, no, we don't. Oh, but I said, the beta's really good. No, we don't want a beta. And they would leave. So that would happen a lot. So it wasn't that busy store. Then everybody wanted, VHS, and Sony only had the beta. So then I'd been there about a month. And so the manager came up to me and he said, Darren, I'm going to have to let you go. You're just not good at sales. You're just going to,
That's what he says.
yeah. You just, I would pick a different career and you're fired.
You're not cut out for this, man.
Exactly. So I had just met my wife, Leanne, and, she was pretty hot. So I, phoned her up, bawling my face off, saying that I just got, fired from the Sony store to come and get me. So, I get back to her mom's house and her mom says, you should go to A&B Sound. And I said, I don't think I could get a job there. She goes, oh, you should try. So I did. I went and, applied 3 different times. And then they called me. And I got a job there in the video department. Nice. So selling TVs, VCRs, camcorders, microwave ovens. And now A&B Sound was straight commission. So there was no salary. It was basically, we got 30% of the profit. For instance, let's say in those days a VCR, an entry-level VHS machine would have been $500. The cost would have been maybe $400. So that would be $100 GP, or gross profit, as they said. So that $100 times 30%, that would be $30.
Right. Straight commission.
So anyway, 2 weeks, I've been there for 2 weeks, didn't make a sale. And I'm thinking, great, another dead-end job. So, then this guy comes in. He was over at, it used to be called Sears and then Eaton's, where the Bay Center is.
Okay.
And he had, I guess, been looking at VCR, a Zenith Hi-Fi VCR. Now, Hi-Fi was like high fidelity, gave you stereo sound, because that's right when like Top Gun had just come out.
Oh, nice. It's like the golden era
exactly.
Of movies.
Or, Top Gun was the big one. And so, everybody wanted that hi-fi experience, that hi-fi VCR. So anyway, he comes into A&B Sound and he says, yeah, I was looking at the Zenith and he gave me the model number hi-fi VCR. Do you have it? I'm like, yeah, we've got it. So over at Eaton's, they had it on for $1,100, $1,099. We had it priced at $1,066. So I said, yeah, we've got it right here. And he looked at it, he says, oh, okay, I'll take it. And I said, I almost jumped. I said, really? No. Oh, so anyway, he took it. So, he left the store, and then I calculated. Now, that particular VCR had $200 profit in it.
Oh, nice.
So $200, so 30 for $60, and it took me about 5 minutes.
Right
From
on.
that moment,
you knew you were hooked.
I was hooked.
Right.
And then that's where I spent the next 7 years of my life. I was the #1 guy for the entire chain for 5 years.
You loved that job.
Oh, yeah, it was great.
And they sent you on trips.
Sent me on trips, and Leanne and I, we went to Club Med back and stand up, baby, stand up. Club Med, Ixtapa.
Nice.
And I can't remember the other one.
Right, so I want to hear about when you decided to make the jump into real estate, but also out of all of the jobs that you worked leading up to that, is there certain things that you pulled from them which has allowed you to be as successful as you are in real estate? Like,
definitely.
Like, what are kind of the key takeaways? Some of the stuff that just came to mind from what you said is operating like phone rooms.
Yes.
And like being a team leader.
Right.
I suppose that would probably help. Anything else that you can think of?
One thing that helps me today in real estate is, especially if you're doing an open house and it's a busy open house, it's almost like working in A&B Sound super sale, because a lot of people are coming in. So what you got really good at A&B Sound was qualifying very quickly.
Right.
And, not being a jerk, just being, hey, how are you doing? Oh, great. What are you looking for today?
Yeah.
We're just looking. Okay, no problem. If you need any help, come and get me.
Yeah.
And so, because you could always tell, and I remember this Boxing Days, you can always tell someone that's ready to buy.
Right.
So you're, what you don't want to be doing is, selling someone that's not going to buy when you got 4 or 5 other people, just sort of, you can tell. And people with money, when they're ready to buy, they're impatient.
They're chomping at the bit.
They're chomping at the bit. So what I would usually do, especially on Boxing Day, because there was so many people, is I would be sort of selling to 7 or 8 people all at once. Right. And then when one person took it, then I'd say, okay, and you want one? Yeah, and you, and suddenly you have 4 of them.
Nice.
And then what I would do is I would just write it up on the shit, just take this up to the chit, I should say, take it up to the front, and the girls will cash it out. So, because you had to, otherwise people would leave because the store was so busy.
Right.
So one of the key takeaways I find in an open house, it's sort of the same thing. If you have a lot of people, be very nice, you can show them, but the people that are really interested, sort of try to find out those people.
Yeah.
And so maybe pay a little more attention to those people.
Makes
where
sense.
the people that are just sort of browsing and they might not even want to talk to a person, give them the brochure.
Yeah.
Ask them if they have any questions to just let me know.
Right.
So you've got to sort of find out sort of the people that
So
are...
that's what you learned from kind of the retail sales.
Yeah, that's one of them. Another great one was this, would be, when it's like, if I could, would you? And that's a really good sales thing.
Okay.
If I could, would you? So someone comes in, and let's say and at A&B Sound, we knew what the cost was, so we were allowed to dicker a little bit on the price. So let's just...
Dicker, word of the day.
Dicker, yes. So let's just say the video machine was $500.
Yeah.
And the guy said, or the girl says, well, I'll give you how about $475? And then if you said, yeah, I would do it at $475, then they'd say, okay, great. Could you write that down on your card? Right. And then I'm going to be back.
Oh,
it's called to be back.
Yeah.
They never come back.
They never come back.
No.
It's true.
It's a funny story. In Vancouver, it's true. They never come back. Actually, Victoria was a pretty good be-back town. They actually did come back. Because we're nice people in Victoria. Right. So is Vancouver too. But
yeah.
So you needed to sort of tie that, objection down, we call it. So when the customer said, would you take $475? Say, well, let me ask you this. If I could go talk to my manager and he agrees for the $475, will you take it? That's the tie down.
Right. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what would you say?
You'd probably say yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let me go ask him. Now, I sort of knew he would do it, but I'd go and around the back and sometimes, go in the back and yak to someone. I'd go up to shipping, I'd grab the VCR and I'd be walking it down like this. Congratulations. Yes, you got it. Nice. Whereas if you just, people ask you, well, will you do this? And you say yes, then they say, okay, great, I'll let you know.
Right.
You so almost should have tied it down. Well, if I could do that, would you buy it?
So this is handy in real estate and negotiations with other realtors.
Yeah, more
when you're working with buyers.
Yes. Because realistically, when you're working with buyers, you're not really selling. In fact, I think a good realtor isn't really selling the buyers. He's giving them all of the information, helping them through the process, lining up inspectors, financing, negotiating the offer. But really, them picking the house is up to them.
Totally. Because
people know what they like. And 25% of the time, it's the drive-by first. So there's no selling when working with the buyers.
Right, until it gets to the negotiation.
That's right, negotiating.
That's where those kind of,
and that's where
tactics work well.
Right, and that's where I find that it helps because of all the advertising and everything I've done over 3 decades. People know who I am, so it helps justify the buyer's price.
Right.
And vice versa on the sellers. It helps justify the seller's price. So it gives me that little bit of leverage. Now, when it comes to marketing properties, that's where really the salesmanship comes out, because you want to sell it to sell it to the public. And sell it to the real estate agents, get their clients excited to come into the property. So that's where the salesmanship's involved and where the marketing and advertising. Okay. So that's always worked for me.
Totally.
So
let's talk a little bit about your first kind of year in real estate, because I know it wasn't as smooth sailing as some people might expect. Because you were, if I remember correctly, you were on the golf course with Larry Lynch, who was our...
okay. Yeah. Good plan. Okay, so what happened is this is like 7 years now at A&B Sound, getting a little bit bored now. I'm about 28 now. And I remember a fellow staff member said, I'm going to get into real estate. As soon as he said that, I'm thinking, heck yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. I'm good at selling, VCRs. I could probably sell houses. Yeah. Funny side note, sometimes people would shop longer for a video machine or a television than a house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got blown away sometimes, be like, a little house, and like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Where VCR, they'd shop for months. So
Yeah.
little side note. So I thought, as soon as he said that, I'm going to get into real estate. So that's what I did. So I took the course and I failed it.
Failed it the first time.
Yeah. So when I left A&B Sound, I had a bit of money in the bank. So I could take that year to sort of focus on, take a bit of a break, life break, and focus on the real estate. But I didn't focus enough, and I flunked the first time I rode.
Yeah.
So remember going up the ninth hole, that's what you were talking about, the ninth hole at Olympic View Golf Course, thinking, what am I going to do with my life? And I thought right then, I remember it was up that hill, and I'm thinking, okay, buckle down. So I buckled down, and I got my real estate license. I passed, and so I was now licensed.
Right, so this is all like sales training.
Exactly.
And that was kind of the early
That's
part
how
of your,
that's right.
early part of
Yes.
your real estate career.
Yeah.
But how long did it actually take before you sold a house?
Well, again, I had taken the course, and I had like I said, it was named after actually, funny enough, the Sweat Hogs, the Welcome Back Cotter had Vinnie Barbarino, who was John Travolta. So it had a star cast, and so what happens is then Sweat Hogs ended, and I was, I had a sale in December.
Okay.
And then I didn't sell anything for the next 6 months. Now, that was in 1994. You were just born.
Right.
And I was broke. I had to basically have garage sales. Excuse you, or bless you.
Bless you.
I had to have garage sales to eat. Literally, I would go park around the corner because I had to sell. I had a newer car because I was in real estate, right? So I basically borrowed for a newer car, had to sell it because I had no money. So I bought this sort of beater car. I literally had to park around the street because I was so embarrassed to go, park this car, this wreck outside their house.
Right.
I always say that, the car you drive up in better be worth more than the commission you're going to charge. But so I was just like, I remember leaving and just bawling because I was just like, this is terrible. Because I'm like, I remember talking with a friend of mine, Doug, one of my guys I played in the band with, and I said, if things don't turn around for me, it's been 6 months, I've got no money.
And you have Whitney, my older sister, who would have been
she was 5.
And then I was just born.
You were just born.
You
And so he said, I would hang in there. I said, because I had a good career at A&B Sound, this real estate thing might not be for me. He said, just hang in there. And then what happened is, so another month went by. So now we're almost 7 months. And then I sold a house. And then I sold another house. That next 5 months, I sold 18 houses.
Wow.
Yeah. The next year, 40 houses. The next year, 70 houses. The next year, 100 houses. It was just like this.
Crazy.
It was when I was almost ready to pack it in.
Seems like these big moments in your life have happened in like the deepest valley.
Yes.
Because even getting into real estate, you were saying like, what am I going to do with my life? When you got fired from the Sony Store, it's like, what am I going to do with my life? But you just stuck with it. And
right.
Yeah. So
I find that, and one of the things they teach you in Sweat Hogs is it's 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It's like they call it the dance.
Right. Life
is never like this. Like, it's always like this. So, and that's sort of how my journey's been. Yeah. And then, that's sort of my journey. That was from, that's how from real estate, first couple years, did a few sales, took the course, then I sold nothing. So, yeah. And then, like I said, I just stuck with it, and then just things turned around, the, universe opened up, and
awesome.
That was it. Yeah.
Cool.
So
I think that's probably good for episode 1.
I just felt like I just let it all out there. Yeah.
No, it's good though, because like I said,
I still can't sell houses.
People see on the billboards and on signs, but they maybe don't know your story.
Yeah, my dad and mom, they're bless their hearts. They passed away, 25 years ago. Yeah. My dad was a bus driver for BC Transit. Yeah. My mom was sort of a stay-at-home mom. Did some work when she was in the younger years of her life. Dennis's Shellfish. Down and so, but yeah, Tommy Day's son, and he'd be proud of me today. They'd be proud of me. I wish they were still here. So yeah. All
right, guys. Well, that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. All right. That's a wrap. Have a great day, everybody.
And maybe we'll have a name for you next time.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. All right, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, thank you.
What a difference a day makes.